Hello, my dear students. Welcome to our GSS Chemistry channel. Today, we deal with most important topic of inorganic chemistry, that is effective nuclear charge, a part belonging to periodic table. Effective nuclear charge. And here we will also consider shielding effects, or otherwise known as screening effects. Apart from that, screening constant, in order to understand complete view of effective nuclear charge. Right? Before that, I will consider an example to have an understanding. Hydrogen and lithium. Hydrogen atom number 1, lithium atom number 3. Right? Electron configuration here is 1s1 and here is 1s2, 2s1. Here the valency shell is first orbit, here the valency shell is second orbit. The nuclear charge is 1 here, the nuclear charge is 3 here. Now I will consider the ionization energy of hydrogen and lithium also. This is the nucleus, this is the first orbit. Similarly here, this is the nucleus, this is the first orbit, and this is the second orbit. Like this we are taking. And here, this contains 1 electron, this contains 2 electrons in the first orbit and 1 electron in the second orbit, 1s2, 2s1. Right? First orbit, second orbit. And here if you take the ionization energies, ionization energy of hydrogen is equal to 1312 kilojoules per mole. And here for lithium, ionization energy is equal to just 520 kilojoules per mole. That means energy required to remove the electron, valence electron. Generally, this valence electron is under the control of the nucleus. There is a force of attraction in between the nucleus and the electron because they are oppositely charged. So if you want to remove this electron, you have to supply the energy to break the attractive force. And here the electron can be removed by supplying this much amount of energy, right? And if you take the lithium, the electron is in the second orbit, you have to remove this electron. You have to remove this electron. Some energy is required. And the applied energy is only 520. How much difference is there? Nearly 800 kilojoules per mole. Very vast difference is there. Here the positive charge is 3. Positive charge is increased. Its force of attraction is increased. Even then, the energy required to remove the electron is only very far less when compared with this hydrogen ionization energy. What happened here? In what way the ionization energy is that much decreased to a large extent? What reason can you interpret here? One is the radius. That means distance of the electron from the nucleus. And here you have to take the distance. This is the distance here. This is the distance. This is the force of attraction. So this electron is attracted by the nucleus, which is having 3 positive charges. As the distance is increased, attraction is decreased. That is why, up to some extent, this is reasonable. But how can you expect that much decrease there? Very vast decrease is there. And so here, this reason is not sufficient to account for this large decrease. Some other may be there. What is that one? That you have to now consider. Here, you have to consider the repulsions between the core electrons. These are the repulsions. So here, this is attraction. And if you take third one, repulsion, indicated like this is repulsion between the core electrons, that means inner electrons, and valence electron. Here this is attraction. Okay. So here this electron is repelled by this. This electron is also repelled by this. These repulsions are there between the inner electrons and valence electron. And so this is the repulsion existing in between the core electrons and valence electrons, as a result of which the electron will be going away from it. It causes some more increase in the distance. And the other one you have to consider, the most important one, this is the inner shell, which is having 2 electrons. And these 2 electrons will be shielding this electron from the nucleus attraction. That is what you call inner shells. Shielding effect or screening effect. Here the inner electrons, the core electrons, will act as a screen in between the nucleus and valence electrons. That means outermost electrons. So due to this shielding effect or screening effect, the attraction between the nucleus and the electron are decreased. Here in this case, there is no screening effect. Right? In this case, there is no electronic repulsions. So these are absent. Third is absent, fourth is absent. Attraction is there. Only attraction is operating. Remaining negative factors are absent. As a result of which here the attraction becomes more influential. And so to release that electron, more energy is supplied. And these are the negative factors here. Repulsion between the core electrons and the valence electron, that is one factor. Other one is the screening effect or shielding effect, due to which the outermost orbital electron is not influenced by the nucleus. And these are the 2 negative factors. As a result of which the total charge present on the nucleus will not be actually acting on it. It influences very much less, decreased. So up to what extent it is decreased, the remaining charge you have to take. And the remaining charge which is acting on that electron, valence electron, is called effective nuclear charge. And here there is no effective nuclear charge because the negative factors are not there. In this case, you have to consider these two, which are influencing the attraction of the nucleus, thereby decreasing it. So, effect of the nucleus is not felt to a great extent. So, the electron will be experiencing lesser nuclear attraction than the original one here. And so, that is what you call effective nuclear charge. Okay. Now, let us consider effective nuclear charge. Effective nuclear charge. The net nuclear charge, experienced by the valence electron is called effective nuclear charge. Is called effective nuclear charge. Effective nuclear charge is represented by Z effective, or sometimes you can write it as Z sigma star, Z star, like this. So here, if you want to calculate the Z effective, you have to first take the atomic number. Z is the total nuclear charge. It is nothing but atomic number. Atomic number gives the total nuclear charge. That influence is not felt onto the outer electron. The remaining force of attraction, what is there, that is nothing but the effective nuclear charge. And so if you want to calculate the effective nuclear charge, you have to subtract something from this total nuclear charge due to these repulsions, as well as screening effect, as well as radius. Radius is increased, attraction is decreased, repulsions are increased, attraction is decreased, shielding effect is increased, attraction is decreased. Put together you have to give it value. That value is nothing but screening constant. That what you call screening constant. Screening constant or shielding constant. Either way you can write. Shielding constant or screening constant, which is represented by the symbol sigma. The difference between the total nuclear charge and effective nuclear charge is nothing but the screening constant. So, screening constant sigma is equal to difference between the two. Difference between total nuclear charge and effective nuclear charge, right? So, sigma is equal to Z minus Z effective. Sigma is equal to Z minus Z effective. And therefore, what is Z effective here? I will write here. Therefore, Z effective is equal to Z minus sigma, where sigma is called screening constant. You have to get the value for the screening constant, which will be varying from atom to atom. As the nuclear charge is changed, screening constant value will be changed. And so here Z minus sigma, Z effective is varying as sigma is varying, but Z is constant here. Z is atom number. For an element, the atom number cannot be changed. But here, effective nuclear charge will be changed as the sigma value changes. Sigma value will be different from atom to atom. For the same atom, Z value always remains constant. So here, for the same atom, you can calculate the Z effective charge, Z effective value, basing on the reference electron. You can take the outermost orbital electron. You can take the inner electron to calculate the Z effective on that electron. Basing on the position, Z effective is varying, sigma is varying. But not basing on the position, the Z value not changed. For the same atom, it becomes the same. So here Z effective is equal to Z minus sigma, where Z is the atomic number, total nuclear charge, sigma is the screening constant. At this stage, just consider one example here. Consider one example. You can take an employee in any institution. Let us suppose that is total salary for an employee per month is per month. Let us suppose that this is 1 lakh rupees. 1 lakh rupees. This is the total salary. Then what is the net salary? What is the net salary? You have to take here net salary. The salary which is taken by him and to the home. What is the amount that is taken by him to the home? That is net salary. Actually, by hand, how much amount he is going to get? If you want to know the net salary, it is not the gross salary. This is total salary, which is you call gross salary. This is also called gross salary. This is gross salary. And here you can take deductions from the salary. Deductions due to LIC policies, loans, income tax, etc. So there will be certain deductions which will be deductible from the total salary, and the remaining salary will be given to him only, to the employee. Some X will be there for LIC policies cutting, loans, some Y there, and income tax cutting, some Z is there, X plus Y plus Z. All put together, you have to take one value here. And let us suppose that this is 40,000 rupees, 40,000. This is the total deductions. This is the total deductions due to the loans, LIC policies, income tax, etc. 40,000 is being minus from this amount, deduced. So what is the remaining balance? That is, he is going to get 1 lakh minus 40,000. That is only 60,000. Rupees 60,000 is the net salary. Rupees 60,000 is the net salary. Actually, he is going to get only 60,000 by hand. On paper, it will be 1 lakh. But you have to deduce all the loans, cuttings, etc. So this is the gross salary, this is the deductions, and this is the amount he got by hand. So here you can also understand in this manner. Total salary is Z here. This is Z. Total positive charge. Total salary is nothing but total positive charge. Total positive charge. That means total nuclear charge. Let us write like that. Total nuclear charge is Z. And here what are the deductions? 40,000. What is the deduction that is to be subtracted from this? Due to the repulsions and due to the shielding constant, due to the radius, all this put together, some value will be given, and that is nothing but the screening constant. This is sigma. This is sigma. That is sigma. And what is the net salary? That means what is the net positive charge? All these positive charge will not be acting on the outermost orbital electron. Some is removed from this constant. So here Z minus sigma becomes the Z effective. Z minus sigma becomes Z effective. That is the effective nuclear charge. Effective nuclear charge. And this is screening constant. That is screening constant. So screening constant is equal to difference between these two, and therefore Z effective is equal to total nuclear charge minus screening constant. Some value obtained. That is only acting on the valence electron or reference electron. Okay. This is the meaning of effective nuclear charge. And we have to calculate the values of effective nuclear charges on every atom and every electron here. So you must be in a position to calculate this one. First of all, you have to calculate this one. If you want to calculate the screening constant, which is depending upon the repulsive forces in between the core electrons and the valence electron, distance between the nucleus and the valence electron, and also screening effect or shielding effect. Basing on this, you have to calculate the sigma value. To calculate the sigma value for the electron, certain rules are developed, and those rules are called Slater rules. Those rules are called Slater rules. Right? Slater rules are used to calculate the sigma value for any electron which is present in the outermost orbit, or you can take a reference electron in the inner orbit also. You can calculate for every electron, screening constant can be calculated. For that, he introduced certain rules. You have to follow those rules only. In what view that interpretation was made by him, with the same angle you have to think, not the other angle. So you have to take here Slater rules into consideration to calculate the sigma value. Thereby, for every electron, for every atom, you can calculate the effective nuclear charge. So now let us study the Slater rules for the calculation of sigma value. Okay? Please note it. Now let us consider the Slater rules to calculate the sigma value for the reference electron or valence electron. We can take here. Slater rules number 1. First of all, you have to write the electron configuration. And you have to rewrite the electron configuration in the increasing order of n value. You should not write 4D after 3s, after 4s. I mean 3D after 4s. 3D must be written in the third orbit. That means before 4s you have to write 3D, because 3D belongs to third orbit. That is the increasing order of n value. So first of all, you have to write the electron configuration in the increasing order of n value, no orbital should be written after the orbital which is having lower n value. Okay. So electronic configuration is written. Electronic configuration is written. Electron configuration is written there, and then you have to arrange all the groupings in the increasing order of n value. Here D and F sublevels must be treated as separate groups. D and F must be treated as separate groups. For example, you can take here NS, S, 1S, 2S, 2P, 3S, 3P, 4S, 3D you have tried here. That should be written in the same third orbit. 4P, 4D, 5S. Like this you have to write. And here, while writing the groupings, S and P one group, S and P one group here. 3D is separate group. This is not grouped into the same S and P. 3D is separate, D is separate group. S and P one group, 4D separate group. Similarly, you can take here 5S like that. 1S only S orbital is there, so it is separate group. This is what you call groupings. In the increasing order, 4S, 4P, 4D. This is one group, this is the other group present in the same main energy level. And this is group, this is group. In the second orbit, there is only one group. First orbit, only one group. Third orbit, there are two groups. Fourth orbit, there are two groups. If 4F is also written, that becomes third group. In that way, you have to take the groupings of the sublevels. This is the groupings. Okay? Later, electrons to the right hand side of the valence electron or reference electron on which jet effect is to be calculated are to be ignored. They contribute nothing to the sigma value. Suppose if you want to calculate the value for 4D, the electron present on the right hand side, you need not consider. The electron present on the left hand side, they are to be taken into account to calculate sigma value. Suppose if you want to calculate the 3D here, if at all electrons are there in the 4S, 4P, 4D, etc., all those should be removed. You should not consider at all for calculating sigma. Electrons present on the left hand side are to be taken into account to calculate the sigma value. So, on right hand side for the reference electron or valence electron, that can be ignored. On the left hand side, all the electrons, all the inner core electrons must be taken into account to calculate the sigma value. Okay. All other electrons present along with the reference electron in the same group contribute 0.35 each. This is more important. Now we are assigning values. We are assigning values 0.35 for that electron. What is that electron? Suppose I am taking electron from 4B. That means this is the group 4s2 4b3. Suppose I am taking here. When you are taking 4s to 4b3, this is the one group, you have to take one electron here, on which the jet effect is to calculate. How many electrons remain there? 6 electrons remain there. All the 6 electrons in the same group will be contributing 0.35 each. 0.35 value into 6. Because you have to take here 7 minus 1. These are 7 electrons, 1 electron is reference electron, 6 electrons is remaining, and therefore that 6 into for every electron 0.35. This is the sigma value given by all the 6 electrons of the same group. Okay, that is the meaning of 0.35 each for sigma electron. Except 1 electron for helium. Helium in the case, for helium electrons, the 1s electron, s electron will be having 0.3 each. You should not take any other value. If you take 0.3 for electron, then it will be working better. Proper results will be obtained. So helium is the exceptional case where the sigma value for electron is 0.3. Okay, that is the exceptional case. Next, all the electrons in the L-1 shell. L-1 shell. If you take L-1 shell here, every electron will be contributing 0.85 each. Suppose you are taking here this 4s, 4b. Here this is the N and this is the N minus 1. How many electrons are there? 2, 6, 10, 18. All these N minus 1 electrons will be contributing how much? 0.85 each. 0.85 each. So, all the electrons in the N minus 1 contribute 0.85 each. And if you take N minus 2, N minus 3, N minus 4, etc., all the electrons belonging to N minus 2 and lower orbits will be contributing 1 each. If you take these electrons, 2 plus 2 plus 6, 10 electrons, these 10 electrons will be contributing 1 each. When this is the reference electron or outermost orbital electron. Okay, these are the values you have to consider in order to calculate the sigma value. And special case, whenever reference electron on which the jet effect is to be calculated belongs to D sublevel or F sublevel. D sublevel or F sublevel. Write the electron groups as it is and write the groupings there. Whatever electrons are present on the right hand side of the reference electron in the D and F, all those electrons are completely ignored. And whatever electrons present prior to that, inner electrons, core electrons, each electron contributes 1 each. But the electrons which are present in the D subgroup or D group or F group, they will be contributing 0.35 each. That is, as usual, they are contributing 0.35 each, but the inner electrons, there is no N minus 1, N minus 2, etc. If you take the D sublevel, whatever inner electrons are there, all the electrons will be contributing 1 each, there is no 0.85. But whatever electrons are present in the same sublevel of D, the remaining electrons of the D subgroup will be contributing 0.35. That is, as usual, applicable. Okay? So here, in this case, 0.35, where is it? Rule 3 is applicable. Rule 3 is applicable. And from 4 onwards you need to apply. This is the actual value that you have to take. So in this way we can calculate the sigma value. Now let us take some examples to calculate the sigma values for all these to get the clear idea. Okay? I am considering lithium 3, electron configuration 1s2, 2s1. There are groupings 1s2, one group, outermost orbit, 2s1 group, second orbit. Orbit is changed, grouping changed. You have to calculate the jet effective here. This you have to calculate jet effective. This is the reference electron. Only one electron is present. So you need not take any other value because there is no other electron present there. This is the nth orbit, nth shell, and this is N-1 shell. This is N-1 shell, this is the nth shell. You have to calculate jet effective for this. And here, in the N-1 shell, there is no D electron, there is no D and F sublevel calculations here, only S and B. And here, in the case of N-1 shell, N-1 shell contributes 0.85 each. There are 2 electrons. Each contribute 0.85. Each contribute 0.85. There are 2 electrons. And so 2 into 0.85 is equal to how much? 1.7. Right? 1.7. So what is the jet effective? Jet effective is equal to jet minus sigma. This is the value of sigma. What is jet here? 3. What is sigma? 1.7. So what is the jet effective? 1.3. Jet effective is 1.3 only. For lithium, all the 3 positive charges will not be acting on 2s1 electron, out of which only 1.3 charge will be acting, which is effective on 2s1, the remaining is not effective. And that is why you are not getting the expected value for the ionization potential or ionization energy. Okay, let us take one more. Zinc 30, You have to calculate sigma for 4s1 electron. That means reference electron is S. Electron from the S sublevel. So write the electron configuration then. EC is equal to 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d10. This is the electron conversion. No doubt it is right. But if you want to calculate Slater's constant here, this is wrong. You have to grouping them according to the n value. Whatever sublevels are there in the same n value, they are grouped one way. They are to be written at one place. And so, in what way it is to be written here? 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 3d10, 4s2. This is the way. This is the correct way if you want to calculate this Slater's constant. Now grouping them. First orbit, one group, 2s2, 2p6, other group, 3s2, 3p6, sp, one group, third group, 3d10, separate group, and 4s the nth shell. This is the nth shell. This is n-1, complete n-1. In the n-1 shell, there are two groups. Shell is 1. This is n-2 and this is n-3. So n-2, n-3 inner core electrons, n-2 onwards only one value, and here you have to calculate the value of 4s electron. So I am writing here (4s2). 1 plus 1 electron is there. This is the reference electron, and this is the other electron present in the same sublevel. In the outermost, in the valence shell. So in the group here, from which you want to remove one electron, in the same group, one more electron is also present. And so here one electron is there. So contribution how much? 0.35 into 1, 0.35. This is for one electron. This is the one electron which you have to calculate. This is the reference electron. On this you have to calculate Z effective. So for other electron, the sigma contribution is 0.35. Now let us come to this is the nth shell. n-1 shell. This is n-1 shell. How many electrons are there? Totally there are 8 plus 10, 18 electrons. Though D sublevel is different, you are not taking the reference electron from 3D. So here you have to take all the 18 electrons in the n-1 shell. How many electrons are there? 18 electrons. What is the contribution of every electron? 0.85. So this is equal to 18 into 0.85. 18 into 0.85. 18 into 0.85. This is equal to how much value can you obtain here? 15.3. This is the sigma value. Next, n-2 onwards. n-2, n-3, both these onwards, one each. There are 10 electrons. 2 plus 2 plus 6, 10 electrons. So 10 into 1 is equal to 10. So for these there are 10. For these 15.3. For these only 0.35. All put together this gives the sigma value. So here Z effective is equal to Z30 minus all these values. What are these values? 10 plus 15.3 plus 0.35. If you work out this, how much value you can obtain here? 30 minus 25.65. So this is equal to how much we will get there? 4.35. 4.35 is the Z effective. Z effective is equal to 4.35 for zinc. For this 4s1 electron. So if you take the 4s1 electron, the effective nuclear charge is only 4.35. The remaining total value is completely present in the screening constant, and that value is not acting on this 4s electron, and that is why, basing on that, we can explain the properties, ionization potential, atomic radius, etc. Okay, this is how to calculate jet effective for the valence electron. Now let us consider the inner electron also, reference electron. So please take it. Now let us consider another example here. You have to calculate the sigma value for the 3D electron for the zinc. Now I am taking the reference electron as the 3D electron. First write the electron configuration in the grouping methods. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 3d10 and 4s2. 4s2 is the outermost orbit. And here 3d10, 3s2, 3p6, two groups are here same orbit. 2s2, 2p6 one group and 1s2 one group. You have to calculate the jet effective on this electron. To which electron you are calculating, that electron which orbit it is present here, that becomes the outermost orbit for this calculation. And so 3D becomes the nth shell. All this will become the nth shell. Right? And here 4s2 becomes the right hand side. All the right hand side electrons can be ignored. All these electrons can be ignored. They do not contribute anything for the sigma value. So you need not take into account these 4s2 electrons. And now this is one group, this is the second group in the same level, and this is one group, different orbits. So this is nth orbit, this is n-1, this is n-2. Right? So this is nth orbit means this becomes n-1 and this becomes n-2 here. But you are calculating the sigma value for d electron. Whenever d electron is taken, the inner electrons completely, you need not count. You need not take into account this n value or n-1 value, etc. All the inner electrons, core electrons, all the core electrons will be contributing 1 each for sigma value. But whatever number of electrons present along with the same group, all those electrons will be contributing 0.35 each. And so this one, out of this is the nth level, where one electron you have to take here for reference electron, on which jet effect is calculated, and the remaining 9 electrons are there. For these 9 electrons you have to calculate sigma value. And the electrons in the same group you consider, those will be offering 0.35 each for each electron. And so here 9 electrons remain, 9 into 0.35, that is equal to 3.15. This is sigma value from 9 electrons. And all the inner electrons are the core electrons. You need not take into n-1 and n-2, all the electrons. Even electrons present in nth orbit also, because they are not belong to D. All these inner electrons to 3D. So 3s, 3p, 2s, 2p, 1s, all the electrons, total put together there are 10 plus 8, 18 electrons are there. There are 18 electrons. All these electrons will be contributing 1 each, and therefore sigma is 18 into 1, 18. Total value, what is the total value of sigma? This plus this, 18 plus 3.5, that is equal to 21.15. So what is the jet effective for this case? Jet effective is equal to z minus sigma. Z is equal to 30 minus sigma is equal to 21.15. This is equal to how much? 8.85. 8.85 is the Z effective for the d electron of the zinc atom. In this way you have to calculate the values, sigma values, and then you have to calculate the Z effective. Based on that you can explain the properties. Okay. We are able now to calculate the Z effective for any element, for any atom, and any electron in its orbit, in its case. First orbit or second orbit, third orbit, you can take any orbit, any electron, you can calculate the Z effective. Okay, basing on Satter's rules. Already we calculated the 4s electron for zinc 30, also we calculated now zinc 30. For D electron, basing on the rules we calculate, that is 8.85. Okay, that up to that is okay. Sometimes you can also consider, you have to consider the penetration power of the orbitals. Penetration power, S is having more penetration power than P. That means it's diffusing toward the nucleus and interacting with the inner orbitals also. So in this way, S is having more with the penetration power than P, P is having more penetration power than D, and D more penetration power than F. Anyhow, if you study carefully, the shielding power will be more for S and P. So S and P sublevels will be having more or greater shielding power. In the case of D and F, they will be having poor shielding power. So basing on this also, sometimes you have to calculate, you have to get the result also, if there is any deviation. So that is about penetration. This point can also be added to the calculation of the sigma value. Okay. After getting all the values, after having an idea to calculate the sigma value, now we have to give the conclusion about the Z effective as well as the shielding constant. Conclusion means you have to apply this to periods and in a group. You have to explain the periodicity in a period table. Because period table reflects the periodicities from element to element in a period, from element to element down a group. Okay? For this purpose, now I am considering the period, namely second period. Here I am taking second period. Second period elements I am now considering lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine and neon. And here one electron is being added from atom to atom. The differentiating electron, what you call, that will be joining the outermost orbit, namely second orbit, and S and P levels will be gradually filled. And so here, if you take the atom numbers from 3 to 10, from lithium to neon, and here if you calculate the Z difference, Z effective, basing on status rules, already we calculated for lithium, its value is 1.3, right? For beryllium, 1.95, for boron, 2.6, for carbon, 3.25, for nitrogen, 3.9, for oxygen, 4.55, for fluorine, 5.2, for neon, 5.85. That means there is a gradual increase in the effective nuclear charge. Whether it is steadily increasing or not, how can you know? Just for that purpose, so calculate the difference between two adjacent atoms. Lithium, beryllium, the difference in Z effective is 0.65. Between beryllium and boron, the difference is 0.65. For boron and carbon, 0.65. Carbon, nitrogen, difference is 0.65. Nitrogen and oxygen, difference is 0.65. Oxygen, fluorine, difference is 0.65. Even neon for fluorine, difference is 0.65. That is what you call difference is constant, but the charge is increasing gradually. That is what you call steady increase. So there is steady increase of Z effective from left to right in a period. When there is steady increase, the outermost orbital electrons will be pulled towards the nucleus and there will be steady decrease, gradual decrease. There will be no irregularity at all. There is steady decrease from atom to atom, from left to right. When there is steady decrease, the atomic radius is decreased. And of course, this is exceptional. Neon is exceptional because it will be having greater size than fluorine due to the electron repulsions in the valence shell. It is also inert gas. So, except neon, if you take from lithium to fluorine, Z effective is able to explain the decrease in the size, decrease in the radius, and increase in the ionization potential. All these were completely explained. Periodicity is there. And that is why Z effective and status rules and screening constant are completely applicable in a period. It is applicable, right? Up to this extent, it is okay. Now let us consider group. I am considering first A group here. Lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium. You need not consider francium because it is radioactive. The substance is less available. Properties are also not known much. So, you need not consider when studying the properties of the remaining elements of the same group. And here atom number 3, when there are 6 elements in a group, you have to add for the first atom number 8, 8, 18, 18, 32. That is the logic you have to adapt. So here there are 6 elements including francium: 8, 8, 18, 18, 32. For 3, 8, 11, 8, 19, 18, 37, 18, 55, 32, 87. 87 is the atomic number of francium you are not considering. So there is increase in the atomic number, there is increase in the number of shells also. This is the second orbit, outermost orbit, third orbit, fourth orbit, fifth orbit, sixth orbit is outermost orbit. In that way, there is increase in the number of orbits. And calculate the jet effective also. For lithium already we calculated, that is 1.3. For the remaining elements, sodium 2.2, potassium 2.2, rubidium 2.2, cesium 2.2, for all these except lithium, the remaining 4 elements are having the same jet effective. That is remaining constant. When it is remaining constant, how can you explain the atomic size? If at all you think, basing on this, the atomic size should be remaining constant, ionization potential nearly constant. Can you agree for these results? As the number of orbitals is increasing here, the atomic size is gradually increasing from top to bottom. The radius is increasing. The nucleus attraction, the outermost orbital is decreasing. IP value is decreasing. These facts you know. But jet effective is not able to give such a response here. It is unable to explain. And so, always it is not successful. Along a period it is okay. But in the case of a group from top to bottom, it is not applicable. You need not consider the jet effective to explain the properties periodicity in the case of a group. And that is not always applicable. It is applicable only to period, not applicable to group. And that is why in the case of group, it may be empirical, not completely applicable. So this is the conclusion you can give. It is applicable to period, okay, it is not applicable to group. So whenever group is read, you have to take other concept. Along a group, this concept is sufficient to explain the periodicity. Okay, this is all about effective nuclear charge and screening constant and status rules. Okay, so I hope that you all follow the subject clearly. Take these notes. Thank you very much for your kind observation of my video lecture. Thank you.